The Ask Willie and Eugene Business Show, the weekly business show. Thanks for joining us for another cracking episode, and today's going to be nothing short than extraordinary. We've got an amazing guest on our show today, Eugene from Streettop Consulting, which I'll get to in a bit. Before we get to that, Willie, my handsome co-host from the northern provinces of Pretoria.
Eastern provinces
of Pretoria.
Oh, thanks so much, man. Thanks so much for the kind words. Yes, guys, welcome to today's business show. So just for everyone that's new to the show, if you haven't heard about EHQ, we are helping guys to take their businesses online. That's our passion. Guys are struggling. So if you want to go and check out our link below, entrepreneurhq.co.za/mastermind. And then, guys, the purpose of this show is to reach as many people. We firmly believe that we can learn from other guys that's more successful than us. So please like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel or our Facebook channel, and share it with other business owners. So yeah, guys, we can't take the show further without you. And yeah, get your pens out. If you can learn one thing today, then you've advanced your business or your life.
If you can learn one thing every single week, just where would your life be in the next 12 to 24 months? And I think that's our purpose, Willie, is there's so much information out there. Where do you get the right information? And we bring guys on that special or that got a specific speciality that they're much better in a particular area in their business, and you can learn from them. And each week we learn something else and we learn something new. So if you take over, we've done 40 or 50 shows now. If you look over all the guys that we've interviewed over the last 40 or 50 business show episodes, absolutely amazing. And each one of them have something that I learned from it. And Willie, I know you learned quite a bit as well. And the one thing that stands out for me is action. Almost every single person, at the end of the show, we asked them, what's the one thing? And they said, do something. So I think that comes in. Don't just listen. Get out your pens, like Willie said. Get out your pen, make some notes, and go and action the stuff that you learn afterwards. But without that, I think we can get into the show. So firstly, welcome, everyone. Welcome to the show. Welcome to another cracking episode with myself and Willie on the weekly business show. And today we've got Eugene from Streettop Consulting. So he's the managing director of Streettop Consulting. He's also a business coach, and he's got a psychology degree or PhD or MD or something. And then,
one of those.
One of the fancy stuff you get at university. And I've been for a couple of sessions with Eugene as well, so I speak to Eugene on a regular basis. Known him for about 2 years, 3 years. Absolutely amazing guy. So stay tuned for this episode. Willie, let's go.
Let's jump into today's session. So guys, yes, enjoy. Welcome, Eugene.
Welcome.
Willie, thank you.
The
thank
crowd
you
goes
for
wild.
the invitation. Yeah, look forward, and I want to start off by thanking Eugene for not mentioning all my qualifications. Some of them are a bit embarrassing. So Eugene, thanks for not mentioning or mentioning the fact that I'm also a qualified sexologist. People often ask the question, what does sexology has to do with business? And I will never forget one morning, very early, meeting the MD of a construction company. And his HR manager organized the appointment, and he was trying to impress the MD with my qualifications, and the MD, an engineer, just sat there with a very serious face. And finally, out of desperation, the HR manager said, and Eugene is a qualified sexologist. And he smiled and said, boy, oh boy, do we need you in this business. You must see what our clients are doing to us. Thank you for not mentioning that.
Thanks, Jan. It's you've been around, and I'm really excited to learn from you today, and it's such an honor to have you on the show. So thanks for joining us. For the viewers that don't know anything about Eugene Andre, please enlighten us with your life experience, probably maybe just 1 or 2 years, not all the 40 years.
Okay, I think in terms of life journey, where I started my journey is also my social handicap. It's in a town called Benoni. You know, yes, often get that reaction. And very glad that it started there, you know, because it's not a fancy place and it's full of paradox. And actually, as a family, we were quite poor. Later moved to Pretoria, and I think I learned a lot from my dad in terms of hard work and what can be achieved. Because in terms of his journey, he ended up as the managing director of a large overseas corporate, you know, that was here in South Africa. So our fortunes changed, but I think from poverty, and I was very blessed that like Willie, I ended up in the east of Pretoria and could attend one of the top schools here. Hulle sê altyd, hoe weet jy 'n ou was in Affies? Hy gaan dit vir jou sê. So I was blessed to matriculate there. But just seeing and that journey through hard work and application, but also the fact that and I think this is a critical part that I want to mention, that at a stage where he did not expect it, he lost everything, or he virtually lost everything, because he was retrenched from the company. And it taught me the lessons in terms of life and career, you know, that control and taking charge of your own life is the important thing to be in control. So that my way of starting, as you mentioned, had the privilege to attend university, qualified as a clinical psychologist, started off my career as an academic where I lectured, and after a few years, with apologies to my fellow academic and professors, I realized that if I stayed there, you know, I'm going to miss out on real life and going to become like them. So ventured into private practice for a number of years, and due to burnout and the intensity of work, lost my sense of humor and tried time to change. Was fortunate, got an invitation to join an international consulting firm, spend a few years there, and that was a learning school, and eventually decided to do my own thing, and been running Streettop Consulting for the past 31 years.
Wow. Sounds like you've that sounds like you've come a far way from a long way since the time in Benoni. So tell us a bit more about what exactly is Streettop Consultants about.
Yeah, just really with compliments of my wife. She will always remind me they could take me out of Benoni, but to get Benoni out of me will take a bit longer. So I think Streettop Consulting, we basically are an organization development consulting firm. So we consult for large corporates, you know, like mention a few, Volkswagen, Pick n Pay, Hewlett Sugar, some of the corporates that we've done work with over the years. And our vision is to be your partner in transformation. And when it comes to transformation for us, it is adding value to what you're doing. It's growing, it's becoming. And we consult in the area of strategy and leadership, team alignment, organization culture, quite a strong input in terms of psychometric and competencies assessments and audits as well. And then definitely more in terms of personal mastery and personal growth, that we conduct programs and coaching in that area.
Yes, that's very.
So powerful.
Perplexed at the moment, John. You've got so much wisdom and so many different areas that we can learn from you. It's almost difficult to pick one and spend the next 15 or 20 minutes on a particular area, because there's so much I actually want to know, and there's so many areas that I want to pick your brain on. I think one of the areas that stood out for me is, so I met you a couple of years ago, and I've always had a coach in different areas of my life. And even when my relationship was going good and there was nothing wrong with it, you still coach us through our relationship, my romantic relationship. And that's actually, so all the guys that's part of our mastermind, I use the Enneagram, and Yuan actually introduced me to the Enneagram a couple of years ago. Really cool tool, absolutely love it. Yuan, when we talk about relationships, it's very similar that romantic relationships, business relationships, even if it's employee versus or employee to the superior type of communication, or even the CTO to the CEO of the business, all those relationship works on fundamentals, if my understanding is correct. They all kind of work the same. It doesn't really matter what type of relationship. There's almost like this, I wouldn't say rules, but there's things that you need to do to have a healthy relationship. Is that correct?
A healthy relationship. I was listening to you build up, and I say, Eugene, my understanding is, this is sort of a 20-25 minute conversation. That's about a week question you're asking there into hours. I think when it comes to relationships, and I think we basically social beings, they're critically important, and the fundamentals, and you're quite correct, I agree with you, the fundamentals stay the same. But building relationships, maintaining relationships is really hard work. It needs a bit of luck and creativity, but this is hard work, and this was unexpected. Should have been more proactive on that one.
That's you doing the stuff live.
It's raw.
Yeah, this happens, and I think the biggest thing is where things go wrong, and to me, the biggest fundamental about relationships is that we must appreciate that as human beings, we're inclined to judge ourselves on our intentions. But, and usually they're good intentions, but nobody can see your intentions because they're in your heart. And what they judge you on is on your behavior and on the impact and the consequences of that behavior, or how you come across. And that is where the misunderstanding often comes in. So it's hard work to do it. And to me, that's the first fundamental. And the second one is to accept accountability for what happens in a relationship. I work with so many people that often get into this role where they see themselves as victims. My boss is doing this, or he is bullying me, or my spouse is doing this. And the big thing is, nobody is a victim in a relationship. You're a player, and sometimes you choose to play the role of the victim, but you're still the player. Yeah. So that by way of introduction.
Responsibility, quite often in relationships, my ego doesn't take responsibility all that well.
That's normal. I always say to people, if you get feedback, and to me it's critical to get feedback. I want to say, if you deny me feedback, you deny me the right to grow. And yes, the feedback, sometimes it's out. But if you get feedback, please take it personally, but don't be too sensitive about it.
Okay.
And then again, ask yourself the intention. Why this? Why are people experiencing me like that? That's the consequence and the impact of my behavior.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I listened to a podcast of Jay Shetty probably a month or two ago, and he mentioned something very similar to that, which was quite an eye-opener for me. He said, if my wife asked me, can you please get up? We're both lying on the couch, we're watching TV, we are both comfortable. Now she asked me, can I please go get her cookies in the kitchen? And then his reaction to that was, but we're both lying at the same space, we're the same age, why don't you get up and get your own cookies? And then he realized that her intention is, that's the way that she wanted to be loved in that moment.
Yep.
Her intention is she loves me. She will never intentionally do something to harm me or to hurt me. And if you understand that, then that communication just opens up so much more. When someone says something to you, for example, I don't like that shirt, what is the intention behind it? Would they ever do something to intentionally harm you? And if the answer is no, if they're doing stuff out of love, you see it from a totally different perspective. And that ties into that intention, absolutely critical.
I think there's another part that comes into your example there, because a lot of people will say getting up and fetching the cookies is a sacrifice. This is effort, so why should I do it?
Yeah.
To me, the bigger question, apart from the intention, is what is my commitment and what have I committed to? And if I have committed to a relationship, then I will do things because of the commitment, and it won't be a sacrifice. It's just part of the deal.
Yeah. Wow. I've got a question, Johan. So I think one of the biggest things in relationships, whether it's personal or business or whatever relationship with employees, is effective communication. And I think we most often find ourselves in a position where you want to have a conversation with someone regarding a difficult matter of some sort. And then most often than not, because we don't have the tools to have that conversation, we rather leave it, and it feels to me like the end result of not having that conversation than having the conversation kind of blows up, like Eugene mentioned there in the end. For the guys that's watching the show, how would you approach such difficult conversations in a relationship so that the outcome of that conversation is rather positive than actually just blowing up in your face?
Sure. Willie, I'm surprised that your
that's another 30 minutes.
Your beard is not grey, because the wisdom in that question is really amazing in terms of, yes, it is a difficult conversation.
Moments every now and then. Willie gets his moments every now and then.
And the beard is grey, you just can't see it.
Okay, right. No, but not saying things, being afraid, being scared that it can potentially blow up. And the point you're making there is not having the conversation.
Yep.
Is actually creating a bigger problem. Unsaid things create unfinished business.
Yep.
And unfinished business just build up, and in some way they just go and end up at places where, if we were just courageous enough, could have had a much better outcome. And I use the word courage here because we apprehensive about those conversations. And I like the way the Chinese writes courage. They use two symbols. Okay. The one symbol for courage is fear, and the other one is confidence and excitement. So if you are courageous, you're going to enter into it with some apprehension as well. I think the second thing is it is also in terms of the whole trust dynamic. And to me, in terms of having a conversation like that, is to first of all ask for permission to have a conversation. So to approach somebody and said, I'd like to have a conversation. This is about a difficult topic. Will it be all right? We will need some time. Can I have 15, 20 minutes? I think one needs to really capture what it is, and then to say, I want to talk to you about this. And to state the topic as it is, briefly, to the point, in 2 or 3 sentences, whatever the topic is. And then for me to be clear about the fact that because of this, this is how it makes me feel. Because nobody can criticize you for the impact. If you do this, if you just give me instructions without finding out how I can accommodate it, it makes me feel as if I'm just a pair of hands here to execute, and that you're not necessarily sensitive and aware of my challenges. And then to be clear about the outcome, what you would like at the end of it. And then to say, that's what we're heading. I'm not here to blame, but that is what I would like us to have, a more cooperative, constructive relationship. And then to ask the question, how is this sitting with you? And then to listen. I think that's the important, and to see where there is agreement about it. And when it comes to agreement, again, I think so often we think that if we have difficult conversations, that the outcome should be that we're in agreement about each other's point of view. And to me, that is nonsense. We should have agreement about the outcome and how we're going to deal with the future. But if you have a different point of view, I'm going to look at it and say, that's interesting. Please tell me more about it, because I can potentially learn from that. And to see that as your strengths and how our differences of opinion can potentially complement each other.
Wow. Thanks so much for that advice.
That's very cool. I hope everyone's making notes and writing this stuff down. This is really valuable information, guys. Make notes of it. You're not going to have an opportunity to get this type of information and such direct conversation with someone like Yuan. So please make sure that you take advantage of it. And then, Yuan, on that same topic that you mentioned now, there's 2 things that I still apply and things that I've learned from you. One is about the outcome. Before we start a conversation, we decide beforehand, what is the outcome that we want? The outcome that we want a strategy of how we're going to solve this particular problem, or how we're going to take on this particular problem. And it changes the complete dynamic of the the communication. Because now you're talking about the actual problem, where previously you'd say, but you did this, and then it's you did this, and that kind of brings you nowhere.
Yeah, absolutely. That is blaming. And blaming is going to bring defensiveness, conflict, and non-performance.
Yeah. The other thing that you mentioned as well at one of our sessions is that when you are angry, you state that all of you are angry. You are an angry person, but it's not true. It's not that you are angry. It's one part of your emotion is angry. You still have love, you still have compassion, you still have all of that other feelings as well at the same time that you have anger. So to say something like, you make me angry, is not the correct way of saying that. It's about saying that that one particular action that you had an emotional effect on me. I still love you. I still care for you. I still want to be in this relationship and creating that trusting environment. I love that stuff. So guys, again, you need to write down this stuff. It's absolutely amazing information that you're getting from Jan now.
Yeah, I just want to say I'm very careful when it gets to the word anger. You know, I prefer frustration. I want to say it makes me feel helpless. But one of the things that I've learned as a clinical psychologist is that behind anger, there is always hurt. And we must remember that.
That is very cool. Johan, so I don't know if it's just me. I've noticed a couple of people that I coach as well. When relationships break down, whether it's with you with another employee, or you with your wife, or you with your husband, or whatever it is, as a business owner, these types of relationships has a massive effect on our emotional state, and especially on our drive and that sort of stuff. And when this conflict is there, it's almost difficult to focus on anything else. You can't think of anything else. You just think about this relationships. What is the effect that bad relationships have on other areas of our life? So let's say in our romantic relationship, there's this massive conflict, or we had a big fight this morning. Why does it affect your emotional state so much the rest of the day?
Yeah, sure. Big question, because if things go wrong, and it's an important relationship, a relationship with your boss, a relationship with your spouse or your lover or that, it's because it's important. And what we tend to do is, and it's again a normal human thing, is we tend to catastrophize about these things. You know, there's something that happens, it triggers emotions, and then in nanoseconds we come to conclusions about this. We start believing this is going to happen, and 80% of the things we worry about that's potentially going to happen is never going to happen. The 20%, if it happens, is not going to be that bad. By agonizing about it, we just make it worse.
And how true is that?
That is where we need to, and I want to say, especially when we talk about business relationship and our seniors, we give people power that they don't deserve.
Yeah. Okay.
In that process, we give away our own power. Wow. And so often we wait for people to empower us. You know, may it be our spouse, you know, they're going to love me, they're going to do something, they're going to act differently, or my boss will, you know, suddenly respect me. Nobody is going to empower you. You need to step into your own power and accept accountability and responsibility for the relationship.
Yep.
And I think in some of the aspects that I mentioned earlier on, you know, that in the question to Willie of saying, what is the outcome? What is it that I want from this relationship? And that's where trust comes in, because my definition of trust is I believe the people I trust that we want the same outcome as well. So why it is so intense for us is it is important, and we believe we're going to stand a chance of losing something that is valuable. So if it's valuable, act, do something, step into your power, and
take action
with trust. That there's enough trust in this relationship that I believe we'll be able to work this out.
Yeah. Wow.
Goosebumps.
Yeah, Johan. We can talk for hours long, and our time is starting to run out. So, Eugene, I've just got one last question, and if you haven't got anything, then I think let's jump into the hot seat. So, my last question for you, Johan, is if you can maybe give 3 tips for everyone that's watching, what can they do to build a healthy relationship? Just 3 short answers.
Okay, I think the first thing is to understand that you cannot change anybody else. You can only change yourself. So don't try and change them. And where your change should come in, that's the second thing, is with something that I call respect. And
Yeah.
respect comes from the Latin word spectre, which means to look. So therefore, we have spectators and spectacles. So if I respect you, I will look at you with new eyes. I will maybe say that my thinking and my paradigm and mindset I have about you is not the total one. So I need to relook at you with new eyes. And the last thing is accountability. That in terms of what happens, I am part of it, I am responsible. So in terms of that, I'm not going to react to what you do. I am in charge of my own emotions, and therefore I'm going to act. And act with integrity and honesty and good faith.
Wow.
One that's really cool. Loving
Amazing.
it. Yeah,
And
the wisdom you
I'm
have.
going to now ask questions about what is normal sex, or
Yeah.
we're not dealing with that today.
Not today, but I think we'll have another session
That would
about
be
that.
actually really cool. A sexology business show about sexology, because it's such a unspoken topic and we don't want to talk about it. It's almost a frowned upon topic.
Exactly.
Yet you see kids running around everywhere, so everyone's into it in some way. Thanks for that wisdom. We're moving into a section now that you call the hot seat, and I'll explain to you a bit about that. Now, firstly, I just want to mention to our viewers, guys, if you like this, remember to like and comment and share. Give us your feedback. We can't grow if we don't get feedback from you. And if you want to go check out Johan's website, it's streettopsconsultants.com. If you want to book any of his services or find out more information, or to book a session with Johan, you can get the information on there. And yes, just absolutely amazing show. I learned so much today, and there's so many things that I want to find in my relationship, and that I want to go home and discuss with my romantic partners, and stuff that I want to apply in my business, things with my teams. And I can see how having effective communication and having that trust and accountability can make an impact in the business. So, Johan, we've got a section that we call the hot seat. So it's questions, 5 or 6 questions, and there's no explanation needed, no reason for saying it, just whatever comes to mind. What is the 1 or 2 things that comes to mind when you ask the question? So Willie will go for the first question, and then we'll ask something and just the first thing that comes to mind. And then I'll go for a few questions, and then we can cut off the show.
I've warned you, I come from Benoni. So
Okay, we won't ask where you came from. Okay. Cool. I'll go first. The person that's had the biggest positive influence on your life.
My mother.
Yes.
Wow.
I want to see what's my note here. What is the best advice you've ever given?
I have a problem. I believe never give advice. The wise don't need it, and the fools don't heed it.
Wow.
The wise don't need it.
The wise don't need it, and the fools don't heed it. So rather than giving opinions, I'll ask questions and get people to think.
Yep. Wow.
That's
Very
my advice.
cool.
Don't
Ask questions.
Don't give opinions. Opinions disempower. Ask questions. That's advice.
Wow. That's great advice.
It's good advice.
So,
I just
Johan, if you had to write a book about your life, what would the title be?
The Impossible Dream.
Wow. Amazing.
Dream the impossible dream.
If you could go back to the 21-year-old version of yourself, which is only like 10 years ago for you, right? So if you go back to the 21-year-old version of yourself and you can give him one word of encouragement or wisdom or something, what would it be?
Just be more open-minded. Life's a journey. You're incomplete. there's a lot to learn, and learn and live your questions. Don't expect answers. Live the questions.
I know this is the hard seat and we shouldn't get answers here. I really want to know what that means. You can only live the questions.
I think we should have answers to our questions,
Okay.
you know, and the answer is never what you think it is. You don't want to commit to something because you're not sure what it will be. I want to say commit to it and do it, and the answer will come to you. And be prepared to be surprised by that answer.
The question.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think
the last one from my side is one thing that's had the biggest impact on you where you are today.
Loss of people close to me. I lost my first wife at a very young age. Lost in business. I think the paradox of life, that life has more meaning because of loss. What you have has more meaning because you've experienced loss.
Wow.
Yes. Very good. Johan, that's the end of our show. I don't know if there's any last words that you want to give or anything that you want to mention, but that's the end of our show. From my side, I just want to say thanks for joining us and thanks for giving up your time. We know how valuable it is. And thanks for sharing your wisdom with our audience. It's been enlightening for me. There's really some cool stuff and moments of awareness that I haven't thought about and some things that I forgot about that I just got new clarity about. So, just really thanks for joining our show and sharing your wisdom with our viewers.
Thanks. I have a T-shirt that I had made with the word contricipator on the back, and people ask me, what is a contricipator? And I said, it's the opposite of a constipator. Contricipator is somebody that contributes, appreciates, and participates.
Wow.
And it was a privilege to contricipate with you guys here.
Yeah.
And the contricipation that you're doing, please keep on with it. Good luck. It's been a privilege.
Thanks. Cool. And just from my side, Johan, thanks so much for taking time out of your busy day to come and chat to our viewers. And then for the viewers, so without you guys, there won't be a show. I hope you've learned one thing today. Then like, subscribe, and share. And let's get it out to the masses. So once again, Johan, thanks so much. It was I've learned so much from you. I think we can go on for hours. But this is it for today. And then, guys, see you next week.
See you next week on the Business Show.
Cheers, guys.
Go well.